So I just caught a video by Lion Syndicate about points per game and kind of how it ties into the defense. And then he was also asking some questions about, Aaron Glenn and if there would be any midseason moves. So I wanted to, like I said, piggyback off of his video, answer his question, and then give a little bit of a different perspective with my video with the whole points per game and how I feel about it. It's something that I've talked about for a while now. And one, it's the Hive defense that I always talk about. Two, it's, the magic number being 20 for your defense. So I will bring in some slides to show you not just the defense, but also our offense and how those work together. On the other side of this, though, I really don't think that there's going to be any mid-season changes with Aaron Glenn and, as our defensive coordinator. I don't see him stepping down. I don't see, Calvin Shepard being an interim. I just don't see any of that happening. And it's primarily because it would be a bad business move. When Aaron Glenn gets his shot at a head coaching position after this season, if he still does, let's say he gets that job, the Lions would then get 2 compensatory picks, 2 third rounders for 2 seasons. And that would be a huge opportunity missed for the Lions if they got rid of Aaron Glenn now and didn't let this play out and see what happens in the offseason. And if he doesn't get a head coaching opportunity, then they'll probably make a move. So I think that it's going to be a swift move. Once coaches are allowed to be interviewed, which kind of happens towards the end of the season. I think week 16 or 17, coaches can start to be interviewed by other teams. We'll see what happens. If nothing's happening for Aaron Glenn, there may be a move, but I still won't consider that happening until after the season is done. Derek brought up the defensive points per game, and let me bring that in first. So here you're going to have the NFL team opponent points per game, and what this shows is the Lions are actually ranked 23rd in the league right now with 23.5 given up per game. Last season, we were at 25.1 points per game given up. Well, why does this matter? Well, here's why it matters. Number one, if you've watched and followed me long enough, you know that my magic number is 20. You will not win a bunch of games if your defense is allowing more than 20 points per game. And the reason why is because when you look at the NFL across the board, okay, from an offensive perspective, let's look at the offensive perspective. In this season, more than half the teams, starting with Denver, do not score more than 21 points a game. So if you want to be in the elite class of the NFL, and if you want to have an opportunity to win a lot of ball games, your team defense needs to keep the opponent under 20 points per game. Denver is averaging 21.7 points per game. So by and large, they would be winning more points per game if their defense was keeping less points, off the scoreboard per se. I'll bring back the defense and let's just kind of look at it, right? I mean, where is Denver at? Denver is ranked 30th. Their defense is giving up 26.8 points a game. So if you're giving up 5 more points per game than your offense is able to put up, you're not going to win games. It's that simple. And if you take a look at, the NFL standings and you look at, Washington, Carolina, Denver, Chicago, New York Giants, Arizona, Indianapolis, the LA Chargers, New England, all of those teams have losing records. Pretty positive they do. Let me pull it up real quick. So I'll start with the NFC. Washington, 4-8. Giants, they're 28th in giving up points per game with 25.9, 3-8. Let's bounce down to go to the AFC. Patriots, 2-8. Patriots are giving up 23.8 points per game. Chargers, 4-6. They're giving up 23.8 points per game. The Colts, Well, they're even at 5-5 right now. They're giving up 24.8 points per game. I think you understand where I'm going with this, right? So let's look at it a little bit more on the offensive side of the ball. Last season, the Detroit Lions were one of the best teams in the NFL. This season, we are ranked 6th. We are tied for 6th. 26.7 points per game in 2023 is what we're putting up as an offense. Last season, we were putting up 26.6. So I want you to answer one question for me. Who's responsible for the losses of last season? You still think it's the offense? Because really, we're identical to what we were doing last season. Like darn near identical. And when you look at last week's games before the Lions played, so week 11, and you look at every single team that played, the loser scored less than 20 points. The winner obviously scored more than 20, or at least scored 1 or 2 more points than the opponent. The only game that was different to that was the Detroit and Bears game. That's the only game that was different. What am I really trying to say here with this video? The Lions offense hasn't skipped a beat from last season. They've been pretty consistent. Yes, we've had some untimely turnovers in the last 2 games. We were able to pull out of one game, couldn't pull out of the other one versus the Packers. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole with the refs or anything else because that was purely on the team. You keep the refs out of the game, right, by putting points on the board. You keep the refs out of the game by keeping your opponent's points off the board. So that's what they have to do as a team. But from last season to this season, the Lions offense hasn't changed. They are more potent. They are more powerful. We have a run game again. We're able to chew up the clock. We're able to do a lot more with the ground and pound. So we're able to keep teams at bay when we get a lead. We don't need to put up 40 points in a game, or at least we shouldn't have to. We had to in one game. But the point that I'm trying to make is that our defense has only marginally gotten better. And if you look on this one, this is the defensive ranks. The Lions are ranked 23rd in the league at 23.5 points per game. Last season, we were giving up 25.1. So there was literally 1.5 points difference last season between what the offense was putting up and what the Lions defense was allowing per game. You are not going to win games when you're playing defense that way. And that gap only got a little bit further away the second half of the season when the Lions defense was playing much better. In the first half of the season, I mean, we were shootout after shootout, it seemed like, putting up a lot of points per game, 35 plus points per game through like the first 4 or 5 weeks on average that the Lions had to put up, and they were still losing games. That's because of the defense. Now, I know Derek also spoke about the whole Aubrey Pleasant firing, and, you know, he was the scapegoat, and the AG is the one that's really responsible for this, and how Dan Campbell, is probably not going to fire his buddy, right? I mean, they're good buds. They've been around together. They're trying to build something together. And I agree with that. I think that there is, something to that. The only thing that I'll add to it, though, is that there was a rumor that started that Aubrey Pleasant was not doing the right thing, not communicating the right scheme or the right game plan for the defensive backs. And the defensive front and the linebackers were on a totally different page than what the defensive backs were on. And that communication issue is the reason why Aubrey Pleasant was fired. Whether it's true or not, we'll never know. But that's what was communicated. And it was reported that way, that was the reasoning behind, the firing of Aubrey Pleasant. But Derek's right. AG is still the man at the top of the list for this defense. He's the one that is ultimately needing to make sure that every component of this defense is on the same page. And I just did a 45-minute video on, AG being on the hot seat, and it'll pop up, in this video towards the end. But something's just not right this season with the game planning either. And then that's what I spoke to in that video. And I know it's quite long, but I gave you some stats in there as well. And I went through all the sacks and everything through, the first 12 weeks of the season, and the pressures and the grades. So there's a lot of information in there. That's why it's quite long. And I also went into the pass rush win rates and everything else, talking a little bit about Aiden Hutchinson, and then also talking a little bit about, some of the top defensive ends in the league that are doing it. and how they're doing it and why they're doing it. And maybe there's some differences between what we have on this team and what's on other teams. Look, there's still more excuses. We've got to quit giving up excuses as Lions fans as to why we're not having success. That has to stop. Either you're going to drink the Kool-Aid and you're going to go down that path and everything that you see is with beer goggles on, or you're going to be a realistic fan. Like I claim myself to be more of a realistic fan, is I'm all in on the Lions, but I'm going to tell it like I see it. And how I see it is based on stats and analytics and metrics and KPIs. And let's be real about it. Let's have an open, intelligent conversation about it. Doesn't mean I'm not a fan like you are. Doesn't mean I'm any different of a fan as you are. I just spend more time looking at stats and I like to talk about it. It just makes me a little bit different of a fan, I guess. Some people don't have, the passion to look at stats all day. I guess I do. But more on this about the defense. Look, it's no surprise that the Lions are winning more games this season because the defense has gotten a little bit better, when it comes to keeping points off the board. But right now we're only basically a 2-point difference, not even a 2-point differential between our offense between last season and this season, with this as far as the defense, allowing 23.5 points this season, 25.1 points last season. Where the biggest difference is, though, is what is between our offense and defense. We are now roughly 3.2 points difference, a whole field goal. That's a big number. A whole field goal between what our offense and defense are doing. That's why we're winning more games. So, the averages are what they are. The number is what it is. Some games we win by a lot. Some games we win by a little. But the point that I'm trying to make here is the magic number is 20. Your defense has to find a way to keep other teams below 20 points per game. And if you can, you will be in the top 16 every single season. And I could go into all the different years, right? I bet you I could go through the last 10 seasons and you're going to probably see a very similar trend. But you're going to see a change where the NFL made this more of an offensive game. When the rules were implemented, it went from a 17-point differential about 10 seasons ago to now it's a 20-point differential. And that's only because the NFL is trying to make it more explosive. They're trying to make it more of an offensive game. They feel like it's more fun for the fans. And they implemented more rules to protect players coming over the middle, which means you have less impact plays, less injuries, easier to catch balls over the middle. Whereas you never wanted to go over the middle before. And today, receivers love it because they know they can't be hit. So that's all I wanted to do with this video is just kind of piggyback off of Derek's video a little bit and give you my perspective and my magic number and talk about the Aubrey Pleasant firing just a little bit. Look, we got a long way to go. It's a long season. We have 6 tough games left. And they weren't tough to me 2 weeks ago. But after the last 3 weeks, they're tough games now. The Lions are in a dogfight. And this team has to do something, and there's just not much for us to do. We can't bring in a bunch of players. Trade deadline's over. There is no free agency unless these guys are, getting cut, let go, or they're sitting at home. And I don't see anybody good out there to bring in that's really going to make a huge difference for this team. As far as letting AG go, I don't see it happening. If he's not picked up as a head coach in this offseason, I would expect that the Lions are going to move on. My last point, Derek mentioned Calvin Shepard. Look, I'm not against that idea. Calvin, has been doing a great job with the linebacker core, and the linebackers are probably the best unit on the field. Who knows if they'll keep the same defense if they do make a change? I would say that would be in their best interest instead of making these guys have to learn a whole new defensive scheme. I think it would be in their best interest to keep the same scheme, but you just game plan it and implement it a little bit differently. I would hate to see them change the scheme right now, especially given, with how well we're playing, at times. And that's what needs to stop. The flashy play has to stop. The consistency is what we're looking for. So, all right, y'all. That's it for this video. Appreciate y'all. And if you love this kind of content, I urge you to please subscribe to the channel. We would love to have you in a part of the Rock Down Detroit Lions family. And to all of you 2,000 plus subscribers, I really appreciate you for making my days even better, knowing that I get to communicate with all of you. All right, y'all. Have a great day. Go One Pride. Go Detroit Lions. Take care. Bye-bye.
Wants to throw it to Short. He caught it. He's going on first down. Oh, yes. The big man dives down the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful. Fields looking pressured, hit from behind, taken down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
No respect.
So, you know, we look like we're ready. This is day one.
No respect.